Hey everybody, and good morning and welcome to Sergeant K's Corner. I'm Sergeant K, obviously. I'm going to talk about a subject today that's going to be a little bit of a hot topic and might irritate some folks. And yeah, I don't care. These are my opinions and how I think and how I live my life. And what I'm going to talk about today is definitely the hot topic of racism. And I'm going to start out by saying that racism is a destructive force like no other. To dislike or to hate a particular group of people because of the color of their skin or their race or whatever is just ridiculous. It's stupid. It's right now I can't find a word to describe how damaging and wrong it is. And you see it everywhere. You see it in the news media. You see it. The news media is notorious for it. You know, they stir the pot all the time. Why? Because it gets people to watch. That's the only reason. It gets people to watch. I know that in good conscience, I could not be a journalist today. I don't even know if there is such a thing as journalism anymore. You know, just reporting the news, like Huntley and Brinkley and, those guys used to do back in the days of black and white TV when I was a kid. Nowadays, it seems that, these people, they just want to get out there and beat everybody else to the story and sensationalize and, they just don't report stuff. Just report it. The American people are not stupid. If you just report things, they'll figure it out. But they report things like white police officer kills unarmed black man. Now, we all know that that's wrong. We all know it's wrong. And the fact that the police officers were white will come out. It doesn't need to have the pot stirred by the media. But then you have this whole thing that went on in Atlanta where you had black police officers, I believe it was 5, maybe it was 4, who killed an unarmed black man, and they didn't report it. Black police officers kill unarmed black man. No, they reported it as Atlanta police officers beat an unarmed black man who died. Why is it that they don't report it the same way? Well, because there's nothing to stir up. There's no gas to pour on the fire. It's not dramatic enough for them, But I want to address racism because racism has no business in our country today, but particularly racism has no place in the church. And you can see it whether it's a white, predominantly white church or a predominantly black church. You can see it. And I've heard racist comments. I've been pastoring for 20 years. I've heard racist comments come from white people. I've heard racist comments come from black people. I've heard racist comments come from Hispanic people. And it has no place in the church. It has no place in Christianity. And I don't understand how someone could call himself a follower of Jesus Christ or claim that they have God in them. And we all know that God is spirit and God is love. I don't know how you can claim to have God in you and hate somebody or dislike somebody simply for the color of their skin. It's ridiculous. It's not godly. It has no place in the church. Now let me point this out to you. If we go to Genesis, we're going to go to Genesis 1:26. It said, "Then God said, let us make man in our image according to our likeness, and let them have domain over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the air and over the cattle and over all the earth and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." Nowhere does it say, and let us create white people in our image. Nowhere does it say, let us create black people in our image. Let us create Hispanic people in our image. No. Every person you encounter was created in the image of God. even if they're not a believer. How can you go out and share the gospel if you don't know for certain that the people that you want to go witness to, the people you want to go talk to about Jesus Christ, were created in the image of God? And how can you go out and preach the gospel if you don't have love for everybody in your heart? How? Nobody's been able to explain that part to me. Why am I bringing this up today? Well, because back 2 years ago when I went to Africa, which Africa is a continent, and I'm calling it Africa because I don't want to give up the specific country, okay, to help protect the anonymity of my pastors who work in that country. You know, the COVID vaccine was a hot button issue back then, and people in Africa were not getting their COVID vaccine. Why? Well, for two reasons. One was they were being told that the vaccines contained Satan's DNA, and that if you got the vaccine, you were accepting Satan's DNA and becoming a child of Satan, and you were going to die and go to hell. That rumor was coming out of the UK through social media. Then there was another rumor coming out of the UK through social media that Bill Gates feels that we need to eliminate 8 million people, and we should start with Africa because Africans don't contribute anything to the economy. You know, it's a continent where, you know, everybody is on welfare, blah, 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 and we should eliminate that starting there. Well, when you've got a disease or a biological issue like COVID going on, and you're talking about eliminating 8 million people, and you're talking about people who are living in countries where there's 60 or more percent illiteracy, they get their news or their information from places like Al Jazeera, the BBC, and social media. Okay? And so it struck a lot of fear. It struck a lot of fear. And to back it up, I got the video of these people who all have accents, British accents, except for one guy. He's quite obviously an American. And they're talking about killing off 8 million Africans, starting in Africa. Okay, number one, Bill Gates never said that. Okay, and you can research that, Google it, it's out there. I already checked, but don't trust me. It's like I'm always telling you, you need to double check me. Okay, but we're going to show that video. Okay, it's going to be edited in. It's a 2-minute video. We're going to show that video, and you will see how preposterous this video is. Okay, and it's done specifically. It's a hate video. I don't know how else to put it.
For me, where does any synthetic molecule serve the living?
They don't.
Right.
I mean, none.
And am I right in suggesting that a medicine, by definition, is something which contains synthetic molecules, something that is registered, patented, and put into the market as a medicine?
Absolutely.
Proper. Right. So what I'm learning from you, Dr. Young, is that a quadrillion-dollar enterprise is at work amongst us, decimating, culling the human family.
Intentionally.
Intentionally, using synthetic molecules, which by design are cancer, AIDS, all of the bogeymen we could dream up.
Yeah, it's for the purpose of sterilization and population control. There's too many people on the planet we need to get rid of. In the words of Bill Gates, at least 3 billion people need to die. So we'll just start off in Africa. We'll start doing our research there, and we'll eliminate most of the Africans because they're deplorable. They're worthless. They're not part of this world economy. So they have their rights taken away, and they're suppressed, and they're experimented.
And the multilateral agencies and the health and regulatory so-called authorities and agencies appear in the main to have become weaponized and appear, I again use the word appear advisedly, We're not casting judgments here. We're taking depositions, listening to expert testimonies, appear to be weaponized and appear to be working in collusion against the living men and women of the soil. Is that a fair statement?
It is. It's not a bacterial war. It's a systemic poisoning war, and they're using chemical warfare against all of us.
It's a hate video, and it's talking about how Africans don't contribute anything to this world. I happen to know that African people are very hardworking. Okay, I've been going back and forth to Africa for 17 years, and I can tell you that they are very loving and very hardworking people. They are people who have been held down by corrupt governments and just stuff like malaria and Ebola and everything that goes on there. But the average Joe in Africa wants to go to work, wants to earn his money, wants to have food and take care of his family, get married, have a wife and kids, or a husband and kids, or whatever the case may be. They're no different than we are, except they're a different color. That is the only difference. And just so we're clear, racism is nothing new. Racism went on even in biblical times. You know, the Samaritans. The Samaritans were people who were Jews that married non-Jews, and they were considered by the Jews to be unclean. And so they were discriminated against just simply for being who they were. So, I mean, nobody, no nation, no country has clean hands with this issue. And I might remind certain people that there were a lot of non-blacks as well as blacks who fought in the Civil War to free blacks. And even when our Constitution was drawn up, there was a lot of infighting that went on because they didn't want to have slavery in the first place. So, that blows up kind of your critical race theory. Not to mention the Bible blows up the critical race theory. There is no critical race, and I don't want anybody saying that just because I'm a white guy, I'm an oppressor. Get bent. Bite me. Okay? I have never and will never own anybody. And my family is a bunch of immigrants from Greece that didn't come over here until shortly before World War II. I am second generation in the United States, and I'm very proud to be But we're pretty darn good, and people still want to come to this country for the opportunities that they can't get in their own. Otherwise, we don't have border problems, right? And that has nothing to do with the race. That has everything to do with their governments. And so critical race theory is a bunch of garbage. Being woke is a bunch of garbage. It's meant to divide. It's all meant to divide. And the Bible tells us that a house divided against itself cannot stand. We need to come together, not be divided. We need to come together, and we need to eliminate this, particularly in the churches. But I want to show this video because this is what has really sparked everything for me. So this is a 2-minute video, and I'll be back in 2 minutes. Okay, I'm back. Is that not insane? Personally, I don't know how someone could hate anybody. I don't know particularly how someone could hate anybody of another race or another color or another ethnicity. I have learned some of the coolest stuff from other people. And you know what? Let's keep in mind, everybody was created in the image of God. Everybody, and I want to show you something here from the scripture. I'm going to go to Romans. And let me see. We're going to go to Romans 10. And we're going to 10:12. Romans 10:12. Okay, are you ready? It says, "For there is no distinction between Jew and Greek." There's no distinction between races. Okay, whether it's Jews, whether it's whoever it is, there's no distinction between Jew and Greek. "For the same Lord over all is rich to all who call upon him." Pointing out that it's the same God, okay, who call upon his name. God is God. God is not a white God. He's not a black God. He's not a brown God. He's not a yellow God or a red God. God is God. Jesus Christ was God. Now you explain to me how you can go to church and you can tell racial jokes. Not funny. You explain to me how you can be a Christian and make fun of things like the Holocaust. Not funny. And there's 6 million reasons why that's not funny. People of all races have fought for the freedom of other races throughout our history, just as people of all races have discriminated against and killed people of different races. And it's wrong. And it's particularly wrong amongst believers. I have yet to get anybody who could explain to me how racism was okay. You know why? Because you can't. So we need to just knock it off. You need to just knock it off. You need to repent. You need to ask the Lord for forgiveness. And if you have said something offensive to somebody of another race, it'd probably be a good idea to apologize. Even if you've done it unawareingly that you've done it. Everybody is created in the image of God, and we need to be loving every person, regardless of their skin color. You have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. God bless you, and bye-bye.